What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Ethan Horror, this is Ethan Horror, and welcome back to some more Walking Dead content, because we're going to be releasing a lot of it, as I said in the last video. Last video we did all the season rankings. Today we are doing the villain ranking. I am going to be doing a character ranking, but I can't do every character in The Walking Dead because there's hundreds. So we're just going to be doing my top 25 characters. That video will come after this one. This is just going to be a villain ranking, which there's still a lot, but I felt like it was a apt ranking to do because there's not like 50 villains. There's like 16, which is how many I have on the list today. So let's just get right into the video because, again, we got 16 villains to go through. Got a lot to talk about. Let's get into it.
Here's Johnny.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! This is God.
Before we get started, I do want to say something. Characters that are unlikable and do selfish things, not villains. Gregory, Nicholas, Spencer, great examples of people who I wouldn't consider villains, but they do selfish things and they are very annoying. Ron Anderson, another one, wouldn't consider them villains. I did leave off Pete and Ed, even though you could argue they're villains. I'm just not gonna, I don't want to talk about them. So we're just gonna do 16 villains. Did my best to narrow it down. So we got 16. Let's get into it. Number 16, my least favorite villain, Jadis and the Scavengers. Trash people. That's what I'm gonna call them, the trash people, because everything about their storyline is trash. Literally everything. You meet them, you're first, kind of confused by them. Then once Rick gets guns for them, he recruits them to their side, but then they betray them, and then they go back with Rick, and then they leave, and then they all get killed except for Jadis, and then Jadis changes her name and joins the main group. So she's not even necessarily a full villain, but I don't know what they were trying to do with, they don't even really do much, except for one of them almost kills Michonne, and they pose a little bit of a threat in the final episode of season 7. Yeah. Otherwise, they don't really do anything. Number 15. Didn't know whether or not to put her on the list. I did. Dawn Lerner. What did she do again? Moving on to number 14, I have Pope and the Reapers. These are from 14 up, pretty good villains. The only reason I'm gonna put Pope a little bit lower is because he's only in the season for about 6 episodes, maybe. Where they find Daryl and Maggie, and then they're hunting Maggie and whoever she's with, I forget. And Daryl is working on the inside because he's friends with Leah, which, by the way, this does not include Leah. She's separate, so she's going to be a little bit higher. Pope, scary enough villain, but they don't do very much for very long. They're just kind of a side villain to the Commonwealth. Before you know that the Commonwealth is a villain, you have these villains to worry about. Number 13, I have Joe and the Claimers. Kind of the same thing about Pope and the Reapers. They're not in the series for very long. And again, I guess Daryl works as an inside man for them, so these are actually strangely similar. These guys get 3-4 episodes maybe, where they're in the series, where I think Rick takes one of them out, and then they're out looking for Rick, and then eventually they find him. They pose enough of a threat for the few episodes that they're in, but then Rick kind of just makes light work of them, so there's not really any point. I mean, it is a great scene when Rick bites out Joe's throat, but then he just kind of just massacres the rest of them with ease, so they don't pose any threat. Number 12, I wanted to put her lower, but we have Pamela, Milton, and the Commonwealth. So this is Pamela, Milton, all the other people that are villains at the Commonwealth. It feels samey. I mean, this happened before. The main group, they find a new society, they think everything's alright, turns out everything's not as they seem, and the leader is evil. Remind you of anything? Yeah, but Pamela is probably the least intimidating villain we've ever had on the show besides maybe Dawn Lerner or Jadis. Like, she is not intimidating whatsoever. There was not a single point through this series where I thought, dang, she could actually take some of the characters out. No, the entire time I'm like, no, they could easily kill her. Like, with a snap of their fingers, they could kill her. They don't kill her, because they're good people, but she deserved it. Number 11, we have Lance Hornsby. I did decide to separate him from the Commonwealth and Pamela, because I like him a little bit more than I like Pamela. I think he's more threatening villain. Poses more of a threat than Pamela. Because I think, man, he could actually do some damage because, like, he's working on the inside. He's trying to take Hilltop and Alexandria and Oceanside, and he actually does by, like, framing the people. He reminds me of Zemo from Captain America Civil War, where he just kind of works from the inside, where you know he's a villain, but he's not really outright just shooting people and killing people. Like, he's just kind of working on the inside as a villain, and he is, for what it's worth, more threatening than Pamela. So I think he's one of the best villains from Season 11, but there is another one I'd put a little bit higher. Coming in at number 10, I have Beta. Separated him from Alpha. Because they're different villains, Alpha dies at the beginning of Season 10. Beta is the main villain of Season 10. He doesn't get to be the main villain for very long, like 5 episodes, like the first half of season, or maybe not even the first half, like the first, I don't know, 8 episodes maybe of Season 10, he's the villain. More threatening than Alpha, I guess, because he's bigger, he's stronger. I mean, I think he could take most of the characters in a 1v1, but Alpha is a little bit more terrifying than him because she is more effective. He just kind of brute force, tries to take everything, kill everyone, and it doesn't work. He doesn't do, I mean, he's really just motivated by the fact that Alpha died, and then he just kind of just tries to kill everyone. So, coming in at number 9, this one is my favorite villain of Season 11, Leah. I do have her lower on the list because I don't think she's an amazing villain. I don't think she's great. Like, the villains in Season 11, it's a low bar, but she topped it. Mainly because of when Maggie and Daryl kind of meet up, and she starts trying to kill Daryl and Maggie. She is a pretty effective villain, but then they bring her back for, like, one episode where Lance Hornsby recruits her, and she, like, doesn't know if she wants to work with him, and then she eventually does work with him. She just gets killed right away. Like, just Daryl shoots her, like, no hesitation. Like, she doesn't even... But, like, you think that maybe she might pose a bit of a threat to Maggie, where they're fighting, and she's strangling Maggie, and then she just gets shot. Coming in at number 8, where are we? The Wolves. I think they're only in the 1 season, but pretty effective. I mean, they go through Alexandra and kill, like, everybody who isn't a named character, pretty much. There's a bunch of them. The leader, you think he might actually start to be a good person, because Morgan is, like, teaching him the ways or whatever. I forget about that side of the story. But the Wolves, they're just kind of a group of people. Like, even the main the main wolf, Owen, I think, doesn't have much of a personality because he's only around for a few episodes. But all the other wolves are just personality-less, and they all get wiped out pretty easily. after they, like, that initial killing spree. Number 7, I have Simon. Simon, maybe it's just his looks, kind of reminds me of Trevor from GTA 5.
So it turns out I'm an idiot. Yes, I do know that that's because they're played by the same actors. I didn't when I recorded the video, but I did some research. Yeah, they're played by the same actors. That's why they look the same and sound the same. But, you just understand, I'm stupid, so...
Because he just does whatever the heck he wants. Like, he just does whatever he wants whenever he wants to. Like, Simon kind of wants to think, like, about Negan. He wants, but he doesn't want to work for Negan. He wants to lead the Saviors. And that leads to him doing things that Negan doesn't want him to do, like killing all of the scavengers, which kind of did the series a favor. 6. We got the Walkers. They're just kind of always there. They're always a threat. You never scared of them after, like, season 4 or 5. But they can still pose enough of a threat. It's just they have to be in big groups, like Alpha's Horde or the Horde that storms the Commonwealth at the end of season 11. That's when you feel threatened by them, when they're all together. But at the beginning of the season, they're the main villains because no one, or at least the first season, they're the main villains because no one knows how to handle them. Coming in at number 5. We're in the top 5 now. There's some pretty top tier villains. Number 5, we have Gareth and the Terminus Cannibals. The villains for the first half of season 5. A lot of them get taken out on the escape, but enough of them make it out that they can still kidnap Bob and eat his leg in front of them, which is a terrifying scene, which I think in the comics happened to a different character. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're actually right this time. Good job. It was actually Dale in the comics.
They're terrifying. I mean, when you meet them in the end of season 4, like how when Rick notices that, like, they have some of their friends' stuff and he just pulls the gun on one of them and they just, like, snap, like, just instantly, and it's not even like a big change. They're just so terrifying because they just remain calm, like they'd have everything under control, which they did, to be fair, until the beginning of season 6. They have everything under control. Like, if Carol would have not blown up the whatever she blew up, they probably would have died. Like, they had it, but they did escape. Rick and Carol destroy them, and then eventually they escape, and then they are held up in the church with Gabriel, to which the cannibals come back, and Rick puts an end to them very quickly. In at number 4, Shane Walsh. In the first season, I actually liked Shane. I thought he was a good character. Second season, no, he's a villain. He's selfish. He thinks that he should have Lori and Carl because apparently Rick can't do it himself because he doesn't want to just kill people immediately when the apocalypse turns. Like, Shane seems ready. Like, he's ready to just shoot people. Rick is more conservative. He wants to just work his way through things because he still has the old lifestyle. Shane was just a little bit too far ahead of his time. Top 3 is quite a stacked list. Number 3, the Governor. The Governor, honestly, there was a point in time where I would have said I liked him more than Negan. Definitely don't anymore. I still think he's a good villain. He's obviously at his peak in season 3. Poses the biggest threat. He shows that he is relentless. He will do whatever he needs to do. Like, he kills Andrea and Milton with the snap of his fingers. Like, literally does not care. And then he turns on his own army and just shoots all of them, like, the second they disobey him. So, he is, like, a ruthless killer. But the reason he's 3 and not 2 or 1 is because of his return in season 4. If he would have just ended his story with him killing Herschel and then dying at the end of season 3, he would have been a much, much better character off. Number 2. I'm going to be honest, I sat here for a little while and I stared at this list and I went, who's going to be number one? And I eventually made the choice that probably is predictable, but I considered it for a while that Alpha might be my number one. But she's going to be number two, so Alpha and the Whisperers. Alpha is terrifying. Why is my camera? Alpha is terrifying, and she's so effective because she wears the face of one of the other people and the like dress, and she sneaks into the festival and manages to kidnap like 10 people and kill them. And that scene with the heads, terrifying. That's one of the best scenes in the entire show, where she manages to kill Henry, Enid, Tara, Frankie, the two kids, Ozzy. I don't know all the names of all the people. A lot of people. But, like, you just progressively go up the line, and it's like, oh my god, these are getting bad. And it gets to, like, the old lady, and then you get to the kids, and then you get to Enid, and you're like, oh my god, is it still going? And it keeps going, and it gets Tara and Henry, and it just keeps getting worse and worse. Even though, personally, for me, I think Enid was probably the best character out of Enid, Tara, and Henry. So, I mean, I guess a lot of people would probably say Tara's better, but in my opinion, Enid's better. And Henry is pretty annoying, so I mean. But I did like Henry and Lydia's relationship, so that was a pretty sad moment. But Alpha is possibly, like, between her and Negan, those are, like, the two most effective villains, and that's probably why they're at number 1 and 2. Coming in at number 1, kind of spoiled it, but it is going to be Negan and the Saviors. So, not only do we have Negan, but we have all the various Saviors that I didn't feel like were big enough villains to include by themselves. Like, Simon was the only one. So, basically, just every other Savior is paired in with this. So, otherwise, Negan, I mean, what are you going to say? He's possibly the best villain we'll ever get on any of the Walking Dead shows. Everyone was looking forward to him, and his first 2 episodes, he lived up to the hype. But, I mean, he doesn't really do much in Season 7, but he posts so much of a threat the whole time that, like, it's just a looming threat. He's not doing anything, but he could do so much. And, like, he has Rick on lockdown. He takes over Alexandria, the Hilltop, the Kingdom, and Oceanside. Or not Oceanside. Does he? No, I don't think he does. But the other 3 takes him over, has his people go there and, like, collect taxes, and then he takes all of their guns. Like, he is a good villain. He poses a threat. So, Negan's number 1. I mean, you guys knew that coming into this. Obviously, Negan was going to be number 1. He does kind of turn into a villain, but I still hate him, so he's still a villain in my books. Number 1, Negan and the Saviors. If you guys did enjoy the video, make sure to hit like so you see more videos like it. Go down below and hit subscribe and hit the bell if you like Walking Dead content, because you'll be notified when I post all the other videos I have planned, which is like 6 maybe. Otherwise, if you like horror movies or The Walking Dead, you can go down to my channel, find some more videos in there that you'll enjoy, because I guarantee you there'll be at least one. Otherwise, comment down below some more video ideas, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.